Hello friends, this is Thaddeus from Going Nerdy, and today, as promised, I want to talk about ships. And specifically what I want to do is I want to talk about the survey that you guys fulfilled and filled out, and I've got to say thank you so much for everyone who took the time to go to the link, follow the link, and really check out what it was that I was asking. Now, the idea here is that I've kind of fallen off when it comes to ships. I've just avoided it. I haven't really spent a ton of time playing around with it. I go through, I get my one. Sometimes I'll do all 5 ship battles, but typically it's just one and done and I'm out, right? And I fluctuate between, I think, 150 and 220, something to that extent. And it's hard for me to say this is what ships needs to change in order for it to be more fun. Personally, I have my own ideas, but I wanted to address the community and say, what is it that you guys want? How would you guys fix it? How would you guys change it? Now, there weren't a ton of questions in the survey. I believe there were just 5. Maybe if you took it, sometimes one of them may have been repeated 3 times. Not great at creating surveys, right? Not what I do best. But for those of you who did take it, you saw there were a few key questions. First and foremost, the average score for how would you rank Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes was 8. 61 out of 161 responses said 8. 56 said 9, 8 said 10, 7 said 19, and then you've got a handful. Like you've got 3 that said 1, 1 that said 2. No one said 3. No one gave it a 3. But you get 3 people. I mean, there's less than 20 people out of 160 that said it's terrible. It's just bad. Most people gave it 7 or above. That's indicative of really, I think, what people think of the game as a whole. Most people are satisfied. They like it. They enjoy it. For one reason or another, they enjoy this game. Ships, however, was kind of a different aspect. The curve was a little broader. You had more people saying, more people giving 1s and 2s, all the way up to 5. You had about half of the people who voted giving it 5 or below. The highest average, the highest score was, or the score with the most points was a 6. Most people think it's fun. It's better than mediocre, but not by much. Then I asked, I'm like, what is your current rank? Now, I'm hoping that I didn't misinterpret this data, and I'm hoping that you guys didn't misinterpret the question. When I said rank, I should have been more specific. I should have said ship arena rank. Now, that is what I'm going off of. And if that's the case, more than half of the people who took this survey are between 1 and 50. So it's not like the people who are filling this survey out are saying, hey, I don't do very well and I don't care for it. It's, I do pretty good and I like this aspect, but there's still things that I would like to change. Now, when you guys submitted your questions, when you guys submitted which ships you wanted for the game, which ships you wanted added, I went through and I created a word cloud. Now, if you guys aren't familiar with a word cloud, what it does, you put a ton of words into a document, or you put a document into this little filter, and what it does is it highlights and it makes the biggest words, or the most common words, the largest. So what you can see here is one, Luke's X-Wing. Now, I've got to say, if you take Luke's X-Wing and then you take Red 5 and combine them, Luke Skywalker's X-Wing is going to be huge. Everybody wants Red 5 added to the game. That's the one ship that came up more often than any other. X-Wing was just flat out, that's what you guys said. Now, additionally, you have the Malevolence, you have the Ebon Hawk, you have General Grievous's Starfighter, you have the Ravager, you have other ships out there. You have Obi-Wan Kenobi's Starfighter. There were some really cool ones that were out there. But the one ship that everybody wants the most is Luke's. Now, that then brings the question, do you get Luke in the red jumpsuit or the orange jumpsuit? Do you get Luke from does CLS fly the X-Wing? Does he get R2 as a companion? I mean, he should get R2 as a companion. That should go without saying. But is it the same R2? Is it a different R2? I don't really know. I think we should only have one R2 in this game, simply because there's one R2 in all of the movies. And he's just a super bad A, and I freaking love R2. Regardless, though, how would you guys want Luke's X-Wing to come in, and what would you like from that? Personally, I'd like to see red or orange jumpsuit Luke. I'd like to see him looks very similar to Biggs and Wedge. That would be awesome. So, but these are the ships. Another ship that I thought was really cool that it came up a few times was Padme Amidala's Naboo cruiser. That would be sweet. Now, it would be awesome if it were Padme's cruiser and then we got Vader's take on it. So if you haven't read the comics of Darth Vader, it is freaking intense. He's given this by Palpatine, and super douche move on Palpatine's part. But man, it's a cool moment in Star Wars. It's a cool moment in this whole section. I love it, guys. This is why I read the comics, for things like this, right? Anyways, really when it came to the changes you want made to ships, there really were two things that stood out. Everything else could be filtered into these two categories. More ships and more places to use them. I mean, everything fell into that. I went through and I counted up how many times people said ships. They wanted more ships. Any ships in general. They just need more of them. That made up more than a fourth of all the answers requested, or all the answers submitted. They said, we want more ships. Now, there were some caveats to that. Some people wanted different things. Some people just said, hey, more ships. 25 people just said more ships. That's it. They didn't add any caveats. Other people said different things. They reworded it in a different way, but really it was the same. More ships. One person said we need a better balance between ships and pilots. And the first response was, nobody wants to farm Plo Koon to gear 12 so that his ship is better. Right now we have kind of this 80-20 balance between ship and pilot. It needs to be closer to 60-40. Now, whether that's actually the case or not, I'm not entirely sure. I haven't done that aspect of research. But it does feel that way. And I think the perception in this case particularly is more important than actually what it comes out to be. Now, one suggestion was to get rid of the pilots altogether. That would be interesting, and I think it would also piss off a lot of people who spent time and energy gearing up their pilots specifically or only for ships. So I think that might cause a firestorm. But the other suggestion was there just needs to be an easier way to farm ships, right? There's just not really a great way to get a lot of different blueprints. Now, ship energy it's not as accessible as the other energies, doesn't drop as often, so that makes it hard. It also, the lowest ship energy, the lowest node for ships is more expensive than some of the higher nodes for light side, dark side characters, and I think that could be balanced out a little bit. Then we move on to capital ships, right? Still within that more ships umbrella. People want a capital ship for each major faction, right? Now that we have essentially enough bounty hunters, we need a bounty hunter capital ship or a scoundrel capital ship in the form of Hondo Ohnaka's ship. Let's face it, we just need it. Hondo Ohnaka could be a bounty hunter and scoundrel and whatever. Or we could have like Jabba being added, and he could be like that scoundrel with bounty hunter ties. I don't know how often Jabba the Hutt left Tatooine, but let's face it, he would have needed a very large ship to move him around. And that's not a fat joke, that's a Hutt joke, right? But we just need more. Then with that, and this is the one thing that a lot of people said, and I think this would be a natural inevitability when it comes to more ships. We need a multi-ship meta. They've moved the arena to more than just one meta. It would be awesome to have ships have the same thing, where one ship can defeat another, which can defeat another, which can defeat another, right? It's not just having one, but you then have options to develop them. That's what I'm thinking, and I think that was a great idea. But I also think it'd be a natural progression if they just added more ships. Now next, we need more places to use them and farm them. Almost everyone said they wanted a raid. Everyone wants a ship raid. Now, whether they use it in the whole raid, or maybe it's just one phase of a raid, that would still be phenomenal. Think of a raid on Endor, for example. You could have ships coming in there. A raid on Scarif would be awesome, and you could have the ships up in space for phase 1. That would be freaking cool. Whether it'll work out or not, another thing. Now, we have Grand Arena. We do have some use in ships, and they're going to change periodically as things for Grand Arena changes. But people really want a galactic war for ships. That would be cool. I saw that and I'm like, that's a great idea. That's a really cool idea to see how far you can get with your ships. It wouldn't be too difficult, I don't think, but I'm not a programmer, so I don't necessarily know. The last thing when it comes to where to get them, PvE content. As I mentioned before, we just need more of it. We just need more light side, dark side PvE nodes. It just makes a lot of sense. Some of the changes that were recommended for Arena and PvE is, one, use an allies ship. I mean, we have that in light side, dark side nodes. Why don't we have that in ships? That seems like a simple fix. Also, the RNG for ships, a lot of people are complaining about better rewards. A lot of people want better rewards. And I've said this before. I think the amount of time and effort that you're putting into ships doesn't necessarily equate to the reward you're getting for Arena, right? Now, it does for those amazing pieces of gear on the highest ship nodes. Yeah, they do a pretty good job for that. But there's no in between. It's either great or meh. So, and then finally, the one thing that I really caught my eye is a more dynamic background for the ship encounters to make it actually feel like you were part of a ship battle. Now that would be cool. I really do think that it would be amazing. I think there's a lot of stuff that they at CG are aware of. I'm hoping there's a lot of stuff in the pipeline. I think there is, guys. But if you weren't able to take the survey, if you didn't fill out the survey, what are your thoughts on this? Leave a comment in the section below. Let me know. Join us on Discord and let's talk about this. How would you fix ships? What ships did you vote for? What ships would you want? What ships do you want? How would you address the ship issue? What do you want to say to CG, to EA, and about this? I think it's a great opportunity to just voice your opinion. Again, thank you for filling out the survey. If you did, I really appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time, and let me know what you think. Leave a comment in the section below. Like, subscribe, share. Check us out on Going Nerdy, where I'll actually leave the stats and some of the things that I didn't mention here in the video. This has been Thaddeus from Going Nerdy, and as always, my friends, smile and stay nerdy.